Hey, Latin learners. There's some shady folks hanging around our village. I think they might need a pastor to guide them to some green pastures. Let's go find some ourselves.
Henle Vocabulary, Lesson 26. Our first word is incolo, incolere, incolui. Well, this word is pretty easy to remember. I like to remember it just because it has in on the front of it, and its meaning is inhabit or dwell in. Both of its meanings have in, so that's kind of how I remember this word. Our next word is consisto, consistere, consisti. This one's a little tricky because it looks like it would mean consist, but it means something slightly different. It means halt or take a position. So this is definitely a military term. One way that I like to remember it is just by thinking of words that kind of rhyme with it in a sense. I think of assist and resist. And one thing that I like to think of is actually the word that seems like the opposite of halt or take a position, which is when a military officer or soldier is dismissed. So I look at consist and think of dismissed, which is the opposite of halt or take a position. That might be quite a roundabout way for you to remember it, so you might want to come up with your own way to memorize this word, but pay extra attention to this word because it might be a little bit tricky. Our next word is rogo. This one's super easy just because it comes up all the time and it just means ask. So it's a pretty common word. Plus, it's in the first conjugation, so it's pretty easy to use. Our next word is quero, querere, quaesivi, quaesitus. Now, this word also means ask or seek, and I've had a lot of questions in the past about which one to use. Do we use rogo, which means ask, or quero, which means ask? But it's best to remember that Latin, just like English, has synonyms. So if you were to describe a mountain in English, do you use big or large? Well, you could use either, and it's the same way with rogo or quero. They both mean ask. This word's pretty easy to remember, though, if you think of the word query, which is essentially a question in English. Quero means seek or ask. Next we have quantus aum. This word's pretty easy. Think of the word quantity. It means how large or how great. Then we have munitio, munitionis. I like to think of the word munitions when I look at this word. Munitions are like military arms. This word means fortification. Then we have genus, generis. If you've ever taken biology, you might have talked about the genus and species of an animal. Well, that's probably where we get this word, because genus means kind or race. Aqua, aquae. If you've maybe had any Spanish, you probably will be able to recognize this word from agua. Aqua means water. And then we have cogo, cogere, coegi, coactus. My way to remember this word is to essentially look at this first form, kogo, and split it up. So I think of ko and go. Ko means with, essentially, and go. So kogo means collect or force. So I'm thinking of putting things together. Kogo, collect or force. And then we have verus, or verus, I should say. This word's pretty easy if you think of the word verily, which means true. And then we have inquit. This word is super common. In fact, it's used pretty much all the time because it is the word that means he says or he said. This might be where we get our English word inquisitive, which means someone is curious. But inquit in Latin is actually much broader than just asking a question like rogo or quero. Inquit means he says or he said.
This little parsonage will be perfect for the pastor to come live in for the church we're building next time.
Alright, let's see if we can go over these words and see if we can remember what they mean. Our first word is incolo, incolere, incolui, which means inhabit or dwell in. Consisto, consistere, consisti. This is the tricky one. It means halt or take a position. Then we have rogo. Rogo means ask. And then quero, which means seek or ask. Then we have quantus. That's an easy one. It means how large or how great, like the quantity of something. Then we have munitio, munitionis, which means fortification. Genus, generis. Remember genus and species. This means kind or race. We have aqua, which means water. Kogo, kogere, koegi, koactus, which means collect or force. Verus, which means true. And finally, inquit, which means he says or he said. Fantastic job. Make sure to pay close attention to that one word consisto and make sure to get its definition down, and then the rest will come easy. Good luck.